Instead of a creed, Unitarian Universalists share a spirit and vision of radical inclusivity, individual agency, and social justice. We create a safe space to stand out, stand up, and change your mind, particularly during life's transitions. We embrace personal discovery and growth through learning, engagement, and service. Our only doctrine is love.
Just take five. Drum on your drums, batter on your banjos, sob on the long, cool, winding saxophones. Go to it, oh jazzmen. Sling your knuckles on the bottoms of the happy tin pans. Let your trombones ooze and go husha, husha, hush with the slippery sandpaper. Moan like an autumn wind high in the lonesome treetops. Moan soft like you wanted somebody terrible. Cry like a racing car slipping away from a motorcycle cop. Bang, bang! You jazzmen bang all together, drums, traps, banjos, horns, tin cans. Make two people fight on top of the stairway and scratch each other's eyes in a clinch, tumbling down the stairs. Can the rough stuff. Now a Mississippi steamboat pushes up the night river with a hoo, 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 and the green lanterns calling to the high, soft stars. A red moon rides on the humps of the low river hills. Go to it, oh jazzmen.
Please recite with me our shared affirmation of mission. This fellowship is a welcoming, diverse, and nurturing beloved community that promotes progressive religious thought and practice to create a more loving, just, and sustainable world.
When Duke Ellington wrote the song "It Don't Mean a Thing If It Ain't Got That Swing" back in the early 30s, it was just at the very birth of the swing era and the great big bands of the 30s and 40s. And this song sort of set the tone for it because the swing has such a lilt and such a happy feeling to it that it just gives you joy, makes you want to dance. And truly, truer words were never spoken. It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. And you can sing along the refrain, which is do-wah, do-wah, do-wah. You will hear it. Well, it don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Do-wah, 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 do-wah. It don't mean a thing, all you've got to do is sing. Do-wah, 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 do-wah. It makes no difference if it's sweet or hot. Just give that rhythm everything you've got. It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Do-wah, 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 do-wah. Piano! If it ain't got that swing, okay. Do-wah, 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 do-wah. It don't mean a thing, all you've got to do is sing. Do-wah, 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 do-wah. It makes no difference if it's sweet or hot. Just give that rhythm everything you've got. Oh, it don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Do-wah, 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 do-wah. Do-wah, 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 do. One more time. Do-wah, 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 do-wah.
We call this light before us in hope that we may always remain a strong community, working together to make the world a better place.
We are jazz. Just as soon as it began, we forgot how it started. Like a Coltrane tune, we are so absorbed in trying to follow, to figure it out. We forgot that we are part of it. Every tune needs ears, and every ear needs a tune. Some let the sound wash past them, and others are tapping, clapping, snapping, a slap-happy chorus, embodied instruments, becoming part of the beat. Jazz is a heartbeat. Its heartbeat is yours, said Langston, played Mingus, sang Ella, the sound that swings, blues, and rocks is us, is US. Its dissonance is our politics, its harmony, our dream. The drum thrumps brutal, the master's whip. The cymbals sizzle like native bodies ablaze. The horns dish their musical destiny, while the bass bubbles underneath like God, underscoring the only true sounds, nature and time. Improbable, unfathomable, unconscionable, unconscious, the United States of otherness, we are jazz. African rhythm, played on European instruments, toying with Asian harmonies, in a language made of Middle Eastern letters, while we stand on the first people's land. Yet there is a brutal beauty of any combo, because the instruments are not alike. The players are individuals. None of them belong where they are, and none of them belong together. A Dixieland chorus of separate lines, just lucky to be in the same key, the same room. Yet they make the most beautiful music with depth, beauty, range, heart. Hearty, chop suey. Jazz is a heartbeat. Our heartbeat is jazz.
My sermon today is entitled Unitarian Universalism as Jazz, Freedom Within Form. At some point, it became inevitable that my father's record collection would outrun the shelf space in our den. Several times a week, he would arrive home from his medical office with the latest acquisition from the National Record Mart in the Oakland section of Pittsburgh. I would often sit with him in the den while he unwrapped the cellophane and carefully placed this new LP on the turntable. It was an eclectic education in music, the perfect counterpoint of Bach, the romance of Chopin, the Broadway belters like Ethel Merman, the smooth standards of Sinatra or Bennett, and the folky political ballads of Bob Dylan and Joan Baez. And then there was jazz, the sultry samba of Astrid Gilberto, the tight arrangements of the Dave Brubeck Trio, and Bird's Soulful Wine. Jazz was somewhat inscrutable to me, still is to some extent, confusing. I asked my dad once why he liked jazz, and he replied, because it's honest and pure creativity. He might have also used the word cool, but I can't rightly remember. To this day, jazz remains as hot as it is cool. Yet even so, jazz is and probably always will be an offbeat, slightly esoteric taste, hovering on the fringes of the mainstream with its notes flying like spirits in the air, a bit subversive in its creative freedom and smooth sensuality. Listening to jazz, really listening to it, requires some effort. And creating it, crafting it, giving it life, requires a kind of visceral immersion in one's creative well. Pop culture be damned, Charlie Parker is not Justin Bieber, and Ella Fitzgerald will never be Miley Cyrus. There are no synthetic bubblegum rhythms or melodies, no lunchboxes, no concert pyrotechnics, and so be it. Jazz is jazz. I've often argued that of our 7 Unitarian Universalist UU principles, the one that is most uniquely religious or most unique religiously is number 4. We promote and affirm the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. In essence, we have a jazz religion, slightly offbeat and subversive, hovering on the fringes of the mainstream, creative, free, dynamic. And as with jazz, crafting a deep expression of our beliefs, creating and claiming our religious identities as UUs, that requires some effort too, and a kind of immersion in our spiritual wells. Old-time religion, we ain't. Ralph Waldo Emerson is not Augustine. Henry David Thoreau is no John Calvin. We have no catechism, no promised rapture, no Sunday morning pyrotechnics, and so be it. Unitarian Universalism is Unitarian Universalism. Jazz is a different drummer's kind of music, and Unitarian Universalism is a different drummer's kind of faith. In fact, the parallels between the two are quite remarkable. It isn't a stretch. Both have evolved from more strident and orthodox forms, and both have been shaped by numerous sources. More than anything else, though, jazz and Unitarian Universalism are each deeply personal, in that they ask the participant to seek and create with both freedom and integrity within a fixed but flexible framework. Despite appearances or misconceptions to the contrary, neither jazz or Unitarian Universalism are free-for-alls. Imagine what that would sound like. It would be a cacophony of noise. And imagine what kind of religion that would be. It would be ungrounded chaos. As I mentioned, immersing oneself in and appreciating the intricacies of jazz takes some work. The same holds true for Unitarian Universalism. An interviewer once remarked to the author William Faulkner, who crafted some of his finer and more challenging works in a kind of jazz style that, quote, Some people say they can't understand your writing, even if after they've read it 2 or 3 times. What approach would you suggest they take? To which Faulkner replied, tell them to read it 4 times. The essence of Unitarian Universalism is a bit like that. Hard to grasp, even if it's been explained to you a dozen times, or even after we've been active UUs for years. The aspects of our free church tradition, which we do seem to grasp reasonably well, and which we have guarded fiercely and proudly for centuries, are the UU emphasis on the authority of reason and conscience, on direct access to spiritual truths, and on individual freedom of belief. Earlier, I noted that both jazz and Unitarian Universalism draw from a variety of eclectic sources and claim honorable histories. Jazz is the merger and transformation of musical roots from Africa and Europe. These include African rhythm patterns, voice-instrument interchange, and staggered entry of instruments. European influences include diatonic melodies and certain forms of harmonic structure. Unitarian Universalism is the product of merger and transformation too. A progressive liberalization of Protestant Christianity and an affirmation of the wisdom found in all religions, all the world religions, Enlightenment values, humanist ethics, and an openness to transcendent mystery and wonder in the world, to name just a few. But there is that essential framework that prevents this from becoming a self-indulgent free-for-all. In jazz, the structure includes some agreement about tempo and beat, rhythm and melody, and the players need to comprehend that they have to be awake to welcome a break or a stop line or know when to enter and in what key and what tempo. It's very coordinated dance. For UUs, the structure includes not only the 7 principles and 6 sources listed in the front of our hymnal, and also very easy to find on the UUA.org website, but also some foundational theological concepts that evolved over centuries. It isn't all a postmodern, off-the-cuff jam, and it's not meant to be. My colleague, the Reverend Paul Razor, who's also a noted academic, he astutely notes that many of us UUs are so eager to reject our religious past that we try to start over from scratch every generation. And I agree with Paul's conclusion that ultimately this approach to Unitarian Universalism is both unnecessary and self-defeating. You see, jazz musicians don't normally improvise from scratch. Rather, they improvise off of something. And that's what we need to do with a mature spirituality in Unitarian Universalism. The musician Wynton Marsalis once noted that jazz is one of those dazzling diamonds of creative industry that help human beings make sense out of the comedies and tragedies that contextualize our lives. Something similar could be said about the unique spiritual path of Unitarian Universalism. Dazzling diamonds that help human beings make sense out of the comedies and tragedies that contextualize our lives. As UUs, we can begin by researching the melody and harmonies and syncopation that comprise our tradition. Then we can commence with the creativity of adding beats from our religious upbringings, like I have with my Jewishness, along with the rhythm and key that make the tune resonant for each of us in our quest for truth and meaning. This may not be a classic composition for faith, but it satisfies many of us nonetheless, and that's what matters. It moves us along the path. That said, it's simply not accurate or fair, or for us to self-define ourselves as UUs, as just merely creedless. In his book, Finding Time, former UUA President Bill Schulz remarks that to affirm creedlessness alone may be to get the process right, but to lose one's vision of what is important along the way. If Unitarian Universalism is to be a religion worthy of its name, it must provide a faith in substance and not just style, in meaning, not just manner, in power and not just process. In other words, we need to create an honest but dynamic composition that is multidimensional, whether we are atheists or humanists, or we still resonate with a personal God. The dangers we UUs face, as do all people of faith, is in taking shortcuts, slapping together a melody here with a musical phrasing there, and convincing ourselves that we have accomplished the same depth of experience. As Schulz suggests, we should acknowledge that religion is not a pastime, but a discipline, not an amusement, but a craft. Although we might not be aware of it, our tradition is much more refined than a haphazard cacophony of borrowing, hyphenating, and rejecting. Clearly, Unitarian Universalism is not a cantata that can be easily botched or messed up if we miss a note here or there. It's jazz, and most of us are glad of it, and that's why we're here. Remember, though, that we are still obligated to undertake both a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, or to continue with our musical metaphor, to embellish the melody with both creativity and integrity as we strive to avoid what Unitarian prophet William Ellery Channing called the accidental impulse. Not surprisingly, as Bill Schulz reminds us, every survey that our denomination takes of its membership reveals that what most attracts new people to us is the freedom we offer to seek answers to life's most perplexing questions without bondage to ecclesiastical authority. Schulz recalls a time when an advertising consultant once proposed that the UUA take as its slogan, "We curb our dogma," a suggestion which provoked a nod and a laugh, and which was promptly rejected. However, the UUA did launch a major national ad campaign in 2007, and they adopted the app slogan, "Find us and ye shall seek." Naturally, the UUA has had to respond to the inevitable misinterpretation about freedom of belief in our religion. So they published a pamphlet some time ago called, "Can I Believe Anything I Want?" If you're imagining that this pamphlet was a very short one-word affair consisting of yes with an exclamation point, please keep listening. For, as the author Elizabeth Strong, a noted religious educator in our faith who just died this past week, actually, she wrote this pamphlet. And she said, Unitarian Universalism is not the freedom to believe anything or nothing. It is the freedom to reason and feel your way to what evidence leads you to believe. You have the freedom to form your own beliefs, she writes, but there are responsibilities that go with that freedom, such as understanding why you believe as you do. In other words, how did your composition evolve? Learning from your experiences. Have some jam sessions gone bad? Using your mind to reason and find answers, more downbeat or less. Exploring the beliefs and practices of the world religions. What is an African cross rhythm anyway? And learning about Unitarian Universalism, past and present. What went into this melody in the first place? Bill Schulz goes on to explain that although UUs cherish individual freedom of belief, we do so not just to reject the rigidities of orthodoxy. The reason ours is a creedless faith, he writes, is because we have a theory about creation which, unlike that of most religious traditions, is that creation is too grand, too glorious, too complex, and too mysterious to be captured by any one narrow creed or reflected in one single metaphor. Like jazz, Unitarian Universalism is a syncopated and improvised religion. Technically, syncopation is either the removal of an accent where you'd expect one, or the addition of an accent where you'd least expect one. There, in the midst of a melody, a new perspective emerges. We use, we riff, and we improvise like savvy jazz artists in our own unique ways on major religious ideas and metaphors, such as creation and holiness. And often we place the accent between beats in unexpected ways. For instance, our individual concepts of a spiritual or divine presence. One person may hold a classic theist image of a personal biblical God. A pagan may uphold the sacredness of rocks and trees. The humanist embraces the divine spark which ignites our human actions, and the Buddhist resonates with a holy emptiness that pervades the universe. Of course, as with jazz, there is a limit to what can be improvised in Unitarian Universalism without losing the integrity of one's religious identity. It's an evolving process. So over time, we may craft some combinations of these sources and ideas in a grounded way. Our individual sense of truth and meaning takes wing, like notes flying like spirits in the air, innovative, creative, personal, and dynamic. Let's add a final riff from the writer Annie Lamott and consider how her observation about music applies to our free faith. She tells us that music is about as physical as it gets. Your essential rhythm is your heartbeat, your essential sound, the breath. We're walking temples of noise, writes Lamott. And when you add tender hearts to the mix, it somehow lets us meet in places we wouldn't get to any other way. And that's what religion can be. The cool, hot thrill of jazz, traveling with a lead sheet, but not knowing exactly where the notes will transport us, a solo here, a duet there, a jam session every Sunday morning. In our own lifelong spiritual jazz fantasias, we drum on our drums, batter on our banjos, and we sob on the long, cool, winding saxophones. We let our trombones ooze. We doubt and we believe. We cherish touchstones and we innovate. Don't settle for simply not believing. Go to it. Jazzmen, jazzwomen, jazz people, Unitarian Universalists, walking temples of noise, as notes fly around you like free and ecstatic spirits in the air. Blessed be, blessed we, and amen, Daddy-o.
Now is the time for silent meditation.
We have been warmed by fires we did not build. We have drunk at wells we did not dig. In gratitude of our many blessings and many needs, this morning's offering for this community will now be received.
As you're living, always remember you'll never beat life, so don't try to cheat life. All men are brothers, do unto others. Love's for enjoying, hate's for destroying. Never forget it, else you'll regret it, long as you're living. As you're living, always remember time is for spending, but there's an ending. While you are sleeping, a lifetime is creeping. Sample and savor all of its flavor. Live every minute, put yourself in it, as long as you're living. Forgive me if I seem to preach, but there is something that I have to say, a message that I hope will reach some people who are throwing life away. I call it my philosophy, and now I like to hand it down to you, because it works so well for me. It helps me get away from strife. I hope you listen carefully. You know the truth will set you free, and that's the way it ought to be, 'cause brother, this is your life. throwing life away, all of my philosophy. Now I'd like to hand it down to you because it works so well for me. It helps me get away from strife. I hope you listen carefully. You know the truth will set you free, and that's the way it ought to be. 'Cause sister, this is your life. Live every minute, sample and savor all of its flavor. Long as you're living, long as you're living, long as you're living, long as you're living.
Jazz Prayer by the Reverend Vanessa Rush Southern. God of syncopated rhythms and dissonant riffs, God of lone saxophone solos on a summer's night on a steamy subway platform, God who brings chord progressions into resolution or who keeps two themes in creative tension forever, God who brings music from any instrument, from a straight woman in grief, from a gay woman in love, from a man born in a woman's body, or a woman born in a man's, from those who choose to live alone. No matter who we are in this life, who we were born and who we hope to become, no matter what shape our bodies, what politics, what sex, or what gender, what education, no matter what. O God, make us instruments of thy will, sowing love, making music too. Improvisation, accompaniment, call and response, theme and variation, ebb and flow, you and me, music, moving with the spirit, pure jazz. May our lives be pure jazz. Amen.
I love the East, I love the West, the North and South, they're all the best. But I only go there as your guest, 'cause I love being here with you. I love the sea, I love the shore, I love the Rockies even more. With you, there'd never be a bore. I just love being here with you. Singing in the shower, laughing by the hour, life's just a crazy game. Through all kinds of weather, always we're together. I wanna hear you call my name. I love the songs Mel Torme sings. Hey, that cat, he sure swings. But even he's just one of those things. I just love being here with you. Basie's band is swinging, I like Ella singing. There's something else you know. They know how to swing it, they know how to sing it. They wind it up and let it go. I love the thrill of New York shows. I love to kiss Durante's nose. But baby, before we close, we just love. We just love. We just love being here with you.
We extinguish the chalice here that it might glow gently in our hearts. May it light your path as you leave this space. May it guide your way until we are together again.
I call that mind free, which master the senses, and which recognizes its own reality and greatness. I call that mind free, which jealousy guards its intellectual powers, and does not content itself with a passive or hereditary faith. I call that mind free, which resists the bondage of habit, but sets not bounds to its love.